Welcome to Note 11 for Photoshop. You may notice that I'm starting from the main page for this class. The reason I'm doing that is I wanted to highlight the fact that you need to start gathering graphics for your final, and that the final project is going to be due 12/8. It has to be in by then, otherwise we're in trouble because I have to turn in grades relatively soon after that. I also want to point out the fact that it's 150 points. That's the equivalent of 3 assignments, so it's one of those things that you don't want to miss. And sadly, for the first time ever, I had, was it 2 or 3? I think 3 students last semester who did not turn in their final project, which broke my heart. A couple of them were A students, and they went from an A to a C, and then I had a couple that went from a B to an F. So it really made me sad that that happened. So let's go look at Note 11. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be playing around with web design, and how we're going to do that is we're going to open up a blank page, and I just use that default setting of 800 by 600. And what we're going to do is each layer is going to have its own set of colors and text, and then what we'll do is slice it around. So I'm going to come up here to swatches, and I am going to pick, let's go with that color green. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a smart object so I can play around with it. Shape wise, I should have done that instead. I'm going to have a light green there, and then oops, I am just dyslexic today. I meant to click on fill. There we go. And I really don't need a stroke on this, so that's how we're going to do it. And what I'm going to do is the first part is going to be my main page, my title, and I didn't quite grab it right, so what I can do is I can do Control T, and I can make it a little bit bigger that way, or if I wanted to make it smaller that way, it doesn't really matter. And what I'm going to do here, oops, I'm going to have it a little bit higher up there. Doesn't really matter if it goes off the top. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my text tool. Yes, I'm going to apply that transformation. Shame on me, I didn't do that. And I am going to probably make it 72, and I'm just going to say, ooh, gotta have, I'm going to have green on green. That's not going to be good. Let's go black for font, and I'm going to click right there and just say Photoshop. Now why is it doing it way up there? I also misspelled Photoshop. Oops. And let's go right there. Didn't get the right font. Now I could try to play with the font, or I could just do a Control T and change the font like that. So we could do a double click, and there I've got my Photoshop right in there. Now since I have a title up there or a header, I'm going to make a footer, so I'm just going to go Alt. Oh, I should name it. Shame on me. Let's call that the header. I'm going to do an Alt click, drag it down here, and instead of header copy, I'm going to call it footer. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that down to here. And you are just in the way, so goodbye. Oh, once again, why is that? There we go. It's just been jumping around. There's something weird going on in Photoshop today. I don't know if it's me or if it's my computer because it's just been real jumpy and snapping to the wrong spot. Especially like that Photoshop, it shouldn't have popped way up there. I don't know why it's doing that, but it is. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to have some menu items. I'm going to have them right here. And oh, that's going to be way too big, so I'm going to probably make it about 24. Might still be too big, so I'm going to go 18. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this one menu. And I don't like the positioning of that, so what I'm going to come over here, instead of that negative 75, I'm going to go 0. First I got to have it selected. Go 0. And that is bold too. And since it's going to link, I don't want to have a black color for a link because most people don't realize it, so I'm going to go with a blue for my link color. Not quite the right color blue, so I'm going to make it, let's see, If you wonder what I'm doing is I'm looking here at all that's cyan, pastel violet. Man, I don't see any of the, oh, there it is. Duh, no wonder. So I'm going to have a menu. I'm going to have an about. Hit return a few times. And let's put down brushes. And art boards. And last but not least, contact. Why not contact me for a while? Now I can have them all be left justified like that, or I could have them centered. One thing I don't like about whenever you center anything, it always shifts it to the left, which I never did quite understand. There we go. And then last but not least, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little something in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find another picture I want to slap right in there. I'm tempted to use Bugs Bunny. And let's use Bugs Bunny. Clicking on open. And then just like before, this is going to be quick and dirty. If I was doing it in real life, I'd use the quick select tool. Ooh, no, I don't like that at all. Control Z. Let me try that again. Control Z. I do like that. I take that back. And let me blow it up just a teeny bit more. Get rid of that. Blow it up a little bit more. Get rid of his armpit. Oh, missed. I don't like that one either. I may just live with that. I think I will. Let's see if I can make that brush a little teeny bit smaller. I don't know if you can tell if it is smaller or not. Oh, I could play around with tolerance. Let's go a little bit. Let's do Control Z and then let's drop the tolerance down to 25, which means it's going to be much more precise. It's not going to like that anymore, hopefully. Still does it. Son of a gun. Let's see what it looks like at 100%. Oh, I can live with that. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to take this layer, I'm going to drag him up here, and then drag him down like that, and then move him around. To where I want him. So this is going to be my website for Photoshop. And then obviously I'm going to have contact information down here. That's, obviously that's irrelevant. It's not that I'm going to actually use this for a real website, but I want to show you a little trick that Photoshop has. Now, believe it or not, I wouldn't recommend that you do this for a real website, but they used to do this a lot, which is have it be pictures, which is never really a good idea, having it all pictures for your content. Get back here. Let's go. There we go. So now that we've got it, I've got my layers set up. I am, instead of crop, I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to the slice tool. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to take this and slice it up into parts. So by slicing that right there and coming down here for a slice, and notice I'm just coming up to that far corner. I'm not being real exact about it, but I am getting exact there. And this is my 3, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got it all sliced up. So I've broken this down into parts. Now, if I was doing this for a real web design, what I would end up doing is having this, you know what, I think it went all the way there, so I'm just going to go, just to be safe, down to there. And so I could have this be some contact information. Any good web design, what you want to do is on every page you want to have a phone number, a physical address, and an email. That way, no matter who connects up with you, they will always find you, and that's the key right there. And I'm still not, I just realized I'm not as happy with my position of my, wrong layer, text. Now I'm just gonna, I got my move tool, I'm gonna move it just a teeny bit like that, and maybe, nah. And what I'm doing is I'm using the arrow keys, just so you know. So I've got it all sliced up right now. Now I want to do one more thing, which is I can either use a slice select tool or I can just double click on this. Oh, now it's going to make me use a slice. Okay, and I'm going to slice edit options. So one, I want to give it a name, so I'm going to call this title. If somebody clicks on it, where does it go? Now this is the most important thing is the alt attributes, so I'm just going to put Photoshop website. And I'm going to click on OK. And then I'm going to right click here, edit, and I'm going to call this content. And I'm going to take it to about, I'm going to take it to artboards.html. So what happens is when you click on it, it goes there. And then I'm just going to say Bugs Bunny and other content. And if you want to put a message text up there, that would be okay too. So the alt is for our brothers and sisters who do not see so well. The message text is just some really kind of cool information that will pop up if you stick your mouse pointer over that. So I'm going to go Bugs Bunny just for grins. And then I come up here to menu and I'm going to call it menu. URL I'm going to go to is menu.html. Why the menu.html? I don't know what I was thinking when I did that. And I'm going to call this link to menu page. And then I'm just going to be lazy and copy that, Control C here, Control V to paste. And then same way with about. I'm going to call this about. And then the URL is about.html. Now notice I called this about. This is what the graphics name is going to be, and it's going to be about.gif. Target, I could open up a new page if that's what I was going to do, and I'm going to call it link to about page. And go OK. Edit slice options, and I'm going to call this brushes. Brushes dot, oop, too many dots, HTML. Oop, missed it. I'll call this brushes page, and then the alt is link to brushes page. Notice that the message text in the alt doesn't have to match. It wouldn't hurt to be close, but it doesn't have to match. Also notice that I always try to keep my URLs lowercase. This can be any case it wants, although it's better with title casing where the first letter is always capitalized. And I'm going to edit there. I'm going to be lazy and call it art. And then I'm going to call this, artboard.html. And link to artboards. Once again, I'm going to be lazy and just copy and paste. And the contact me, so I'm going to call this contact. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have a contact.gif, and then when you click on this, when it's created as a web page, it will go to contact.html. And these alts, like I said, is for our brothers and sisters who don't see so well, but also for Google, because Google gets real upset if you don't have alt attributes. Plus, it's always a good idea because it's part of the ADA, Americans with Disability Act. So we're going to put link to contact the page owner. And I'm just going to leave this blank just for grins, just so you can see what's going to happen. Now I've got this. I'm going to go File, Save, and I'm going to call this Web. Now let's call it Photoshop Web. Hit Save. Click on OK. Now we've created the PSD. Now we're going to create the HTML and the GIFs. So notice I said GIFs, not JPEGs. This program's not the most powerful in the world, so it automatically saves it as GIF, even though you might identify it as a JPEG. I'm going to come up here to optimize because I know it's going to be GIF anyway. So I click on that and I will hit save. Now if I do it right now, it's going to save it as images only, but I want to do HTML and images. Now what's really nice about this is Photoshop and Dreamweaver are made by the same company, and now Dreamweaver has a way of taking a web page and bringing it in using a photo, and essentially each one of these layers would be created inside Photoshop, inside Dreamweaver, based on the Photoshop picture that you import, the PSD. Not very good. I've tried it a couple times, haven't tried it with this version, so maybe they fixed it, but I wouldn't hold my breath. So notice it's going to be creating a page called Photoshop web.html. It's going to be HTML and images, so I'm going to hit on save, and voila. Now what we want to do is we want to jump over here. We're going to go to our Photoshop directory, and notice I now have a folder called images. And I wasn't paying attention when I saved it. I better go back and save that one again. So let's go File, Export, Save for Wig, Optimize, hit Save. Well, it says it's in there. It's Photoshop Web Images, but I can't find it. Okay, let's go back in here. Desktop Photoshop. Oh my god, I could have swore I looked right there and didn't see it. That's hiding on me, man. My eyes are not as good as they should be today, apparently. So this is the HTML that it created, and this is the series of images. And notice how it broken into this. Notice the name now. So it's Photoshop 08, that one block there. Photoshop 09, so that was the information that was saved right here and here. And once again, I'm going to double click on it, and if you notice, this pops up in a web browser. I've got links right there. Now I click on menu. Oops, nothing there. Well, I haven't created the menu page just yet. Now this is why I don't necessarily like it. So let's right click here. We're going to go view page source. This is the code that it uses to write that. Now one of the things you're going to find out is it does not follow good coding. Especially for HTML5, which is this, well, this is more like HTML4 transitional. But here we go, all these little links. So if you were writing HTML4, but everybody says that's old and boring, we're now doing HTML5. So I just wanted to give you a little tutorial on how to use web, and I hope you enjoy it. And you will notice there's no assignment to create a web page. Because this is such a condensed course, this is one of the few concessions that I did make. Plus, it's not all that important anymore, but I did want to share with you how to do it. And like I said, I would never create a website based on this, but it's a good way to give somebody a look and feel for the website you are going to create if you're a coder. So I will be talking to you soon. Just remember, start gathering photos for your final project.